What's up, everyone? It is Bill. You're tuned into Pennsylvania Rock Show, episode number 784. This one is pre-recorded, so if you're trying to chat with us, that's why we're not responding to you. With that said, I will add what music we're going to listen to in post, so you don't get to hear that during the video either, just to explain a little bit of what's going on today. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a moment and we are going to watch a video that was recorded on June 28th of Brandon Cornish from the band of Common Crown. And then my guest, I can't talk today, who's now laughing at me, but you can't see him. Anyway, my guest will join us after that. We'll be right back. It's Bill again at Rock for Life. We are in Marion Center at the Raindrop Inn, and there are a lot of those falling right now, but it's still going on. And there's a decent crowd here. You should come join us.
Oh yeah.
Raindrop Inn 2. RAYNE, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
With me today, tonight, whatever. With me right now is Brandon Cornish from A Common Crown. The last time Brandon and I talked was your first gig back.
A year ago today. Yep.
Oh, was it the exact?
Yep.
I didn't even realize
This
that.
is the 1 year anniversary show, man.
Nice.
Yep.
So, what's it been like being back?
It's been awesome. We've written so many good songs, had so many awesome shows, and it's been great. I feel fortunate. Back with the people that I know, we've done a great job. Excited for the next year, I guess.
And you've been a part of quite a few of these Rock for Life shows.
Yeah.
What makes it special for you?
I think first and foremost, the fact that it is a charity and the money is going to a awesome cause. That's first and foremost. And a lot of awesome people get to come out here and jam, play their own songs, play covers, and have a great time. It's just all around. It's a great thing, man. It's always been a great thing.
I like it because of the lights.
Hell yeah. Everything the whole way around.
That's going to be a photographer answer, right?
Hell yeah. Absolutely.
So I'm going to ask you a couple BuildtheScene type questions.
Oh shit!
The oddball ones.
Yep, cool.
All right. So, what is the best pizza you've had because you're a musician?
My favorite pizza is Philippi's Pizza. It's out in Trona Heights. Man, it's great pizza.
I know exactly where it is. I've never had it.
Yep. He was actually my landlord for a while, also. But great. Yes! My favorite pizza. I love it.
Absolutely. If you were leaving a gig and there was a DeLorean sitting outside with this door open and a flux capacitor, what band are you going to go back in time with to play with?
Oh, shit. Always Dimebag and Pantera. Those guys can play and they can party, and that's the people you want to be with. In any timeline, those are the people. For sure.
Real quick, tell everybody where they can find your band.
Shit, Facebook, A Common Crown Facebook. We do have a website.
It's acommoncrown.com.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. You'd have to ask Matt Ferrandi, but yeah, Bill's got it on lock also.
Hey, I want to thank you for hanging out with me.
Of course, Bill. I appreciate it, man.
Have a good show. Hey, so that was Brandon Cornish of Common Crown. With me on this episode is Kyle, also from A Common Crown. And there are a couple too many consonants together there for me. Say your last name, Kyle.
It's Matovcik. People get pretty freaked out over the VCIK part, but it's pretty easy to say. I've heard my dad say Matovcik and Matovcik, but I go with the easier one that confuses more people, and that's Matovcik.
So in the video we just watched, Brandon mentioned that show on the 28th of June, the Rock for Life show, is his 1 year anniversary with the Common Crown. And we actually did an interview, you and I, on that day, and for some reason it didn't save on my phone. Right. So questions are going to kind of be repeated. But we talked about how you felt it's been going. So if you want to tell us how you feel the first year with Brandon being injected into the band is going,
Yeah, I have to say that the first year with Brandon has been just absolutely fantastic. It's been very productive. I was a little unsure, and not because of any fault on Brandon's part, because honestly, there is no fault on Brandon's part in this respect. But I didn't know B beforehand, and of the four people in this situation, obviously myself, Jen, Steve, and Matt. I was the only person who didn't know him, and the other three of these people had really wanted B to join the band, and I was the only one that just was unsure because I didn't know him. So we had a few people lined up to try out for a Common Crowd, and I was super stoked for that. And there was somebody in particular, and I'm kind of glad that this didn't all work out. But anyways, tried one person out. He was cool. We're still friends with this guy to this day. And then B had wanted to try out, and Matt and Steve were both kind of like, "Are you sure? Like, it's been like over a decade since you last played. So are you sure you want to do this?" And sure enough, he followed up and said, "No, man, I want to try out for a Common Crown." So he's like, "I don't want the gig because it's just, I'm the guy that you guys have played with for a while. I legitimately want to earn this." So he came in, and I liked him right away. Jokingly, it's like love at first sight, right? But he came in with a really, really good vibe, and everybody liked him. I liked him. We played very, very well together. He understood a lot of the syncopation, the pauses, and the way that we play things, and just melded in perfectly. And really, he wanted to fill a role that I was looking for another guitar player to fill, and that's kind of somebody that would do leads occasionally, but because I am an obnoxious D-bag, then I do like to do my leads and lots of shredding. So he was very complimentary in that role, and he's perfectly fine in that role. And when he does do solos, they're great. He's a great songwriter. Him and I write very well together, and just the creative juices have flown ever since he joined the band. So we've wrote a whole bunch of new songs. We're recording them. And even beyond that, we're just all great friends together. So I couldn't be happier with how the first year went. It felt like we were in a little bit of a lull there for probably about 4 or 5 years. But now that B's in the band, it feels like we're firing on all cylinders again.
Now, you mentioned songwriting and recording. What's going on that aspect with the band? I know that there's a bit of a break coming up, and I'm assuming that it has to do with something else in your life, but maybe some of that too.
Yeah, of course. So we have about 5 songs written. We have about, I want to say 8, maybe 9 that are like together, 5 that are solid that we play out. And then there's about 3 or 4 others that we have are somewhat worked out, but still just need a few more things just to kind of tie them up and put a bow on them. But the 5 that we have now, the majority of the guitar parts are done. Drums are done. Steve would need to go into record bass. Jen would need to go do vocals, which vocals are going to take the most amount of time. So that all being said, we're moving along actually pretty dang well. So I'm going back to the studio. I don't know when this airs, but in 13 days, so that'll be July 14th, I go in and hopefully finish up all my guitar work. And then
so
Steve...
That's going to be 2 weeks before we actually release this. So you guys are hearing after the fact, but...
Yeah, so we'll hopefully have a decent bit done, because I know the person that we're recording with, Jazz, who's probably been on the program before, yes. He runs Rattle Clack Entertainment, and we're kind of working with him throughout all that. But basically, the decision to not necessarily go on hiatus, but to have a little break between shows here in July is that Jen and Steve want to go out on the boat and do things throughout the summer. And then I'm going to be blessed with a little girl here in less than 6 weeks. So we're taking a little bit of time between July and August to finish up recording, and also, me be with my family. And then we're really, I don't know how hard we're going to hit it in, the winter, the fall and all that, but we do have some big shows coming up after that. And I couldn't be more excited for the future of, not only my personal life, but also the band life as well. So just a lot of good stuff going on over in this camp.
So I've seen quite a few Common Crown shows, and I have taken lots of photos of you in particular, that you haven't even seen them all. There's so many. But I always tend to pick ones like the one that's in the background that they can't see right now, but it is the show thumbnail where like your mouth is hanging open and you're yelling.
Yeah, I would like to believe I'm relatively photogenic, but yeah, it used to be like this was something I had to work on because I was used to like bite my bottom lip, and now I'm like, okay, I have to like sing along, stick my tongue out, or look stupid in some kind of way, so that way the picture looks good. So I don't know. You're the photographer, so you'd be more qualified to say that anybody.
So there are a lot of people in the scene that I really like to take photos of. You happen to be one of them.
Nice.
Mikey P's another one. Jen, because I say she looks like she's trying to kill me with her eyes. And then Paul Peterson's another one. Although he's a little harder to get what I want, but a lot there's a lot. Anyway, so my little bell rang in my ear to tell me that we need to move on. So we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Kyle. Hey, it's Bill. I changed the background. Now you can see the picture of Kyle with his mouth hanging open that I was talking about as we left the last segment. I'm sure he's glad that I did that. Anyway, also behind me is Brandon, who we were talking about in the first segment as well. So in this segment, we're going to talk a little bit about his podcast. And I told him originally that politics is something I try to avoid, and he did a really good job of explaining what he does without getting political, which was really cool. So hopefully he sticks with that same game plan.
Yeah, of course. It could be pretty exhausting talking about topics that are very, very, very heated and very, very, emotionally charged. And I find myself sometimes just needing a break. So I do listen to a lot of political content, do a lot of political commentary, and study these topics a lot. But I think I've at least found a good enough balance to the point where I'm not obsessed with it, and I know when I need to back off. So do you want me to kind of talk about the podcast?
Yeah. Start out by telling everybody what the name of it is and the link tree that's in the video, linktree/Kyle. And I'm going to, was it the V? You say
Matovcik. Matovcik. That's all right. Yeah.
Matovcik. There.
Yeah. I usually spell it out for people because if I say it, then most people kind of assume one thing or another. But so I started the In Liberty and Health podcast back in October of 2021 because I figured on long car rides, whenever my wife and I were just talking about stuff, I figured she didn't want to hear me continually explicate and just go on and on and on about foreign policy and different topics that are pertinent to the world around us. So I decided, okay, well, I have this camera right here, which is now my light, and I have a microphone, and I'm just going to start talking, and I'm going to start scheduling guests. And then from there, here we are 4 years later, where I've talked to people from all over the world and just learned so much and changed my mind on so much. But beyond just political stuff, I also do health and fitness. And sometimes I just kind of rant and ramble about whatever's on my mind, whether it be psychology, philosophy, you name it. If it's on my mind, it's sci-fi stuff, just stuff that's completely harmless. If I want to talk about it, I'll talk about it. So it's been really, really cool. And it's been a very, very fun adventure where I've met so many people and made so many relationships with people that I'll definitely remember for the rest of my life. So Yeah, it's called the In Liberty and Health podcast, and you'll probably know at least one guest that I've had on in over 400 episodes at this point. So, and like I said, there's been people from all over the world, all different perspectives. I consider myself more of like a right-leaning libertarian, but I'm not the kind of person that goes berating people over political differences. I like to engage people where they're at and discuss and try to find the truth as we all see it. And that for me has been a very, very fruitful adventure in networking and just learning and bettering myself as a person. And it's been a lot of fun. And honestly, doing stuff like this just is very, very enjoyable for me. I'm a very gregarious person, so social interaction kind of lights me up.
So my podcast was on accident. It sounds like yours was planned, and mine is on accident every time I do it. Do you sit down and plan out what you're going to discuss? Do you have like a set of show notes beforehand?
Usually when I book a guest, it's usually because I want to pick their brain about their expertise, so to speak. And then I don't want to say like regular guests, but some people that you'll probably see more often than not, because I've developed a good rapport with those people, and we message each other a lot, talk a lot, and sometimes I feel like I don't want to do a show, let's say, by myself, so I'll invite somebody else on to discuss a topic with me. But if there's something going on in the world, then I'll be like, okay, well, this person seems to know a lot about it. I'll reach out to them, and then we'll have a conversation, and then hopefully the listeners gain some knowledge and insight along the way. So, and sometimes I'll just, I'll feel it and I'm like, okay, I have something in mind and I want to talk about this. So I do like a Sunday coffee podcast as well, which is usually apolitical. Usually I talk about like psychology or philosophy or just kind of the events that went on throughout the week and kind of try to wrap it up in like a lesson where I just sit down and drink coffee and talk with the listeners. But yeah, typically it's just kind of like I have an idea or I want to talk about a certain topic. So then, hey, I'll reach out to somebody and then we'll discuss it from there.
So from the very beginning, like the first episode, I didn't even know I was doing. And I'll tell you that story off the air. I've told that on the air so many times, but so it's to the point now where like, I'm like, okay, we're going to schedule you have a new CD coming out and we're going to talk about that. We'll talk about your shows and whatever else comes up, we'll talk about. And that's how I do it. Because when I did it originally, the bands would come to the room I'm sitting in right now and play live. And it would basically be a party that we were broadcasting out over live streaming radio. And it just has stayed raw since then because it's hard to control that situation. One time I would do it Wednesday nights and the bands would end up still being here Thursday morning sometimes. And one time I walked out my back door and I don't know if you know Chris Riggy, who was in the band Cage.
It doesn't ring any bells.
Well, he was sleeping on my back porch in February, and I tripped over him.
Oh man! I mean, hopefully I woke him up. Told him, hey man, you might.
It did, and then he got mad at me because I made him go inside.
Yeah, I mean, February is a cold month in the state of Pennsylvania, so we occasionally get like the.
There was about 6 feet of blankets on him because my wife kept waking up and putting more blankets on him.
Only somebody cared for him,
But yeah, there was a lot of things happened in those first couple of years. Bands formed here in the living room. Suffocate, Kate Faust's band, with Matt Wilmot, who also they went on and formed other bands. But and actually, the original guitar player was Pun, Casey Davis's little brother. That band formed here. I've had bands break up here.
Ooh,
yeah,
not good.
Live on the air. But
I mean, I'm sure it makes for good entertainment, but that's probably not what you want.
No. Those first 288 episodes, they do not exist anywhere now. They were on a external hard drive that I threw away.
Oh, geez. Oh, that's unfortunate. Yeah, I would be.
It was on purpose.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I'd be a little upset if YouTube decided to nuke my entire presence because there's over 500 videos, and you could probably safely assume at least 600 hours worth of content, because my podcast typically will run anywhere from about 45 minutes to sometimes 2-3 hours. The 3 hours are pretty rare, but some of them go up to 2 hours. So it would be pretty upsetting for me. Now, granted, it's all over all the audio platforms, and I'm starting to upload my backlog to Rumble now as well. But there's a lot of stuff there and a lot of conversations that I can kind of look back on, and maybe my daughter will look back on one day and think, wow, my dad was a real asshole, or hey, my dad was super cool. Who knows?
Facebook deleted my original BuildtheScene page, and I had like 10,500 and some followers, and I've never gotten it back up to that. That hurt a lot.
Oh,
and it was somebody reported one of my videos saying I was impersonating them. It's clearly me in the video.
Yeah, that's so unfortunate, because building an online following, especially nowadays, is just so difficult. And I've really fought tooth, nail, and claw to build my YouTube audience. And I've had some, people who've been on the world's biggest podcasts on my show, and to just finally claw over, 1,000 subscribers was just an effort and consistency and dedication, and just constantly putting out more and more content, regardless of how I felt and, how anybody else felt and whether anybody was listening or not. And it's definitely taught me to be consistent. And I'm kind of glad that I've been able to display that over the course of almost 4 years now. It'll be 4 years in October, but yeah, it's a lot of work to build any kind of social media presence, because everybody's so inundated with different content at all times. And now you see the short form content becoming more and more prominent: TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Facebook Reels, this kind of stuff. You kind of have to look at it as like a funnel, where you're kind of, for me, the top of the funnel is like Twitter, TikTok, maybe the Reels, which I don't think I really have any, but like YouTube Shorts, like the very, very short form content to kind of get people's eyes on me and get their attention towards me. And then hopefully they go down a little bit more, and then, oh, look, this guy's a podcast. And then, the final product is probably, hey, I listen to your show every single week. Maybe I subscribe to your channel. I'm a channel member where I pay $2.99 a month to go see all of Common Crown's footage and also get uncensored podcasts, do that kind of stuff, right? Not easy. And I mean, I've had viral tweets on Twitter where, they've gotten over 1 million views, but that doesn't always transfer over from, hey, I saw you say something spicy on Twitter, to now I'm watching your podcast every week. You would hope it would, but like I said, people's attention is just, everybody is trying to get your attention at this point, and sometimes it just doesn't always stick, unfortunately.
I've actually stopped trying to figure out how many viewers and listeners I get at this point, because I'm on so many different social media outlets, and then I'm on Music from the 412, which is broadcasting 24/7 on Roku, and I gave up.
Yeah, no, it's completely understandable, because like I said, it's just so frustrating.
I will say that the number that I usually do take a look at is the hits on my website, which are usually over a quarter million a month, which I'll take that number.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
All right, so we're going to take our second break, and we'll be right back.
Awesome. Oh, that was great still.
Hey, Spill, we're back for segment number 3 of episode number 784, where I'm talking to Kyle from Common Crown. We just got done talking about his podcast. Is it in Liberty and Health? Did I get that right?
Yes.
And in the video, you can see commoncrown.com, and I'm going to let him say the other one because that VC thing.
Yeah, it's a Linktree or link linktr.ee/Kyle Matovcik, spelled Matovcik, and Kyle is spelled Kyle, in case anybody was unsure.
Somewhere I have a meme that I every time I see it, I save it. So I probably have it a million times. It says, my last name has been mispronounced so many times, I'm not even sure that I'm saying it correctly. I think you might fit into that group with me.
Yeah, more than likely. I mean, yours seems a little bit more straightforward, but yeah, Matovcik, if you look at the way it's spelled, I never get mad at people for saying it wrong. So, just is what it is, unfortunately.
I get Domino a lot.
Yeah, to me, it seems pretty clear to be. Why wouldn't you go with the A, Damiano? I mean, to me, that seems pretty,
That is definitely the Americanized version. When my family came over, it was actually DAM, so it was Damiano. And some people try and do that still. But when I teach kindergartners how to say it, I do this little rhyme thing and move my head with the word piano. Piano, Damiano.
Okay, anyway. Yeah, well, yeah, it works.
It works. And then they all end up calling me Mr. D anyway.
Okay. Yeah, well, there you go.
All right, so let's get a kind of a deep dive into your history as a musician here in the third segment.
Sure.
So I'm going to ask some questions that are worded a little differently, but they're going to get what I need. For instance, if I was driving the bus for the next Common Crown tour, what kind of music would you be asking me to play on the radio in between stops?
Ooh, okay. Can I fit? How many artists are we talking here? Because
so basically, we're looking for your influences, so you can list however many you'd like.
Okay, so if I had to put my top 5 favorite bands, number 1 is always going to be Pantera, no matter what. Number 2 is going to be Black Label Society. Number 3 is a little bit tougher. I would say maybe Machine Head, maybe Seven Dust. You would hear Soilwork, Killswitch Engage, Trivium, Bolt for My Valentine, God Forbid, maybe like The Absence, Shadows Fall. A band that I've really, really gotten into that's probably going to throw some people off is a band called Lakeview. It's all one word, and they're like a country band almost, but they have like metal roots and metal influence. You can hear it in their music, and I absolutely love it. Is
that like kind of like Dark Harvest in the local scene?
Not quite familiar with them, but I'll have to check them out. I'll make sure I write that down, actually. If you were listening to... If I were asking you to put on some music, you would basically have a lot of 90s metal, 80s thrash, and then what people commonly dub as the new wave of American heavy metal. So that's basically like a lot of the bands from like, let's say 1998 to maybe like 2007. So as I said earlier, I named some of them like Trivium, Lamb of God, God Forbid, Shadows Fall. Who else? There's probably a whole, other slew of bands that I could probably name off, but they're just currently escaping me. But a lot of stuff like that. Like I said, the stuff that was big from 98 to like 2000, or I'm sorry, like 2007, where those bands really kind of peaked. And they're still around. They're still putting out good stuff, but that was kind of like the height of their career. And then, honestly, I like some of the new stuff that's coming out too. Like Sleep Token, I think is pretty good. Spirit Box, I like them quite a bit. There's a band called Rage Behind. I think they're from Brazil. They're pretty good. Lines at the Gate. A lot of these bands. I'm really not like a hater of many genres, unless you bring up like Blink-182 or like pop punk. I hate that. Other than that, like most metal is good in my book.
Punk is not supposed to be happy. That's been my thing for the last 20 years. I'm like,
yeah, no, I largely agree. I'm not really like a punk listener either. If I hear punk elements, then I'm like, okay, yeah, that's cool, but it's not really like my squeeze. I do like blues as well. So, your Albert King, BB King, Gary Moore, especially love Gary Moore. Jared James Nichols is another like rock / blues player that I like quite a bit. So, my tastes are pretty eclectic, but mainly in like the I like the loud, heavy, distorted guitars and generally like death metal stuff. So, like today I was listening to Whitechapel, Job for a Cowboy, Suicide Silence, and the past week or so I've just been feeling heavier music. So it's like, all right, well, we're gonna try on like the Revocation and jam out. That's kind of some of the stuff that I listen to. It's whatever I feel like week to week, but generally most of the time it's metal.
When did you know that you wanted to be in a band? Can you pinpoint that moment?
I would say probably when I first picked up guitar. I am, as I said, kind of an obnoxious D-bag, so I do like the eyes on me, and I do like to be loud and obnoxious, and guitar is definitely a way that I could do that. So, but I started playing guitar when I was about 11 years old, and I never really stopped. I think I picked up the guitar, and I tried to play it, and I just wanted to play fast, and sure enough, I learned to do that, and I figured, okay, well, there's also like songwriting and stuff like that, so started learning how to do play other people's songs, and I started writing my own stuff. And I really didn't join like the local music scene until I was about 23 or 22 years old,
And
which is kind of upsetting.
What band was that?
The first band I ever joined was a band called Wretched Hive, and that was with, funny enough, Steve, my bass player's younger brother, Bruce Craven, Mike Durkak, Bob McSherry, who plays for Stalemate of Wills right now. And we had a couple different bass players, but like the mainstay was Greg Lewandowski. And we played kind of like sludge metal, death metal, sort of. Really liked the band, really liked the people, but eventually it was time for me
Bruce
to
sang
be
in
a
that
part
band,
of that.
right?
Yes, he did.
Yes.
And then after he decided to move on, we got our buddy Rich to sing and play for the band, or sing for the band. And then I had left about, I would say maybe a year later. We kind of had like a mutual split. And I was also playing a band called Ezekiel, where he did like 90s and early 2000s rock and metal covers. And that was a lot of fun, but that band kind of fell apart. And towards the end of my career with both those bands is when A Common Crown reached out to me and asked if I would like to try out. And I figured, okay, yeah, why not? And really, it's been uphill ever since. I feel like we've made a lot of stride in the right direction as a band since I joined. And I don't solely credit myself for that, but I do obviously give myself some credit for that. And, obviously just playing with the most wonderful people you could possibly imagine.
I'm going to try and fit like 2 or 3 questions in this last 3 minutes.
Sure.
So 2 of them are, I ask every episode, as a musician, what is the best pizza that you've had? So you have to link it to being a musician somehow.
Yeah, unfortunately, this is going to be a bit of a bummer question for me, but I'll see if I can kind of wrap it up in a different way. But I don't really like
food.
Okay, I was gonna say I don't like pizza, so that doesn't really work for me. But I went to Rodizio for the first time through playing with A Common Crown, which is a churrascaria, which is where they serve you meat on skewers, and it was in Columbus, Ohio, when we played the King of Clubs in March of 2021, and that was pretty awesome. It was probably the best restaurant that I've been when I've traveled for the band that comes to mind immediately. Maybe there have been different ones, but it was awesome regardless.
Okay. Now this other one is, who is your Dave Grohl? And by that I mean, who do you want to be pulled out of the crowd and go up and play one of their originals? Because fighters do that.
Easy. Yeah, if the touring rendition of Pantera asked me to play a song with them, I would gladly play Cowboys from Hell with them, and that would be like the dream. And yeah, either that or Mouth for War. I'd be good for either one.
All right. Last question. If you could play with any other band, so you're going to open for them at any venue, who would you want to open for and where? And it doesn't even have to be like a normal venue. Like you can pick playing on a barge in New York City on the river. Did that. That's where.
I would probably say one of the European festivals. So let's go maybe with like Bloodstock, and we would be in direct support for Pantera. That would probably be like the dream goal, is to walk on stage before them, because that like no matter what you do, Pantera in their prime, just there was no band on the face of the earth that was ever better than them in their prime. And if anybody wants to debate me on this, go look at 1990 Moscow when Pantera played and tell me that there's a single band that would have ever touched them at that specific moment. And I'll give you the answer to that. And it's no. There was no other band that could have touched him in that moment.
All right. So now I'm really going to put you on the spot. Name 6 local bands that you think I may have songs from, and if I do, we'll play them.
Drown the Deep. Rain is isn't necessarily local, so
I have them though.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, we'll run with Rain is Big House Pete, Shattered. It's funny because you said them earlier. Blood Union, and there's one more that I'm thinking of. Storm Within.
I have all of those.
Okay. Nice. There we go. I can't believe I can think of 6 off the top of my head, but yeah, cool.
And name 2 A Common Crown songs.
I'm gonna go with Cry because that's probably one of my favorites that we've done and that we put out, and Heartless. I
also have both of those.
There you go.
Made our playlist, although it may be too long, so we'll see what makes it and what doesn't. So, Kyle, I want to thank you for hanging out with me on this episode. And go ahead and give everybody your online locations so that they know where to check you out.
For sure, yeah. If you Google me at Kyle Matovcik, you'll find all my stuff. Twitter is probably going to be the first thing that pops up. So if you like spicy takes with sometimes entertaining misogyny and political stuff, I'm definitely over there on Twitter, just for people's entertainment for the most part, and sometimes education. The Liberty and Health podcast is on all audio platforms and all video platforms, and I'm on Facebook as well. So yeah, that's pretty much where you could find me.
And the band, acommoncrown.com, you find all their information there, including where you can purchase the music that you're going to hear previously to what we just said. With that said, we're going to head off into the evening. We are going to play 2 tracks, probably from the list that Kyle just mentioned, but I don't know which 2. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, Bill.